They're calling it the WOKEPOCALYPSE. A new report says that many of the alphabet actors and their roles have gone away from the silver screen and from the small screen. Almost half of the woke Hollywood roles are no more. But folks, it's a month after the report came out, and not a single celebrity, not a single studio exec is shouting out and saying, we have to fix this. It truly may be the end of woke. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the happiest YouTube channel that ever was. It's time to sail the 7 seas of explaining what's going on in entertainment. Come join me. And if we've not yet earned your subscription, well, by golly, we're after it with a zeal that even the Hollyweirds can feel. Folks, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, and here we go. You know, there are stories that become sort of the reason that you come to this channel. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve, explaining entertainment. That's what we do around here. And let me tell you, this is a story that's been out there for about a month, and we've been sitting on it. We've been sitting on it because we needed to reach out to some folks and find out what's really going on behind the scenes. And we're ready to help you glean some truth from this. You ready? Glenn Garner is the author over on Deadline, again, from a month ago, but what we know now really matters. Nearly half of, and you'll notice they left off the IAA plus, all that stuff, but nearly half of the alphabet crew characters are canceled. Yeah. GLAAD finds a dangerous precedent, says Glenn Garner. Now listen, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, and if you're an adult, you do whatever you want to do as an adult. I'm not your moral arbiter. We've got viewers of all stripes out there, and I'm not trying to say anything about that. I'm trying to say that there was an overabundance of certain classifications and qualifications of people based on quotas that Hollywood had initiated, as you all know, and how that worked out since about 2016. That is ending, and I'm calling this the WOKEPOCALYPSE, and I'm going to tell you why. As GLAAD, it says, releases the 20th anniversary edition of its Where We Are on TV report. Representation appears to be at a pace of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Ooh. Despite the 2025 report showing a slight uptick from last year's, that would be 2024, 468 to 489 characters of an alphabet persuasion across all platforms. That number takes a major blow as, no, we're going to keep reading. Don't do that. As more than 200, that's 41% of those characters, will not return due to series cancellations, endings, or limited series format. With 20% of the characters on shows that have not yet been renewed, their on-screen fates hang in the balance. Now, let me just say what this means, okay? 41% of the characters of an alphabet persuasion. Do you all understand what I'm trying to say? You know, we're doing the dance here. 41% are not returning to the screen. Of the departing characters, the report tracked a large and concerning number from the plus category of the alphabet, if you get my drift here. Oh. Those of a biological quandary. It lists out some of the shows. 911 Lone Star. Chaos, I guess the name there. Clean Slate. While the number slightly increased year over year from 24 to 33, only 4 of those characters on shows with renewals. Means only 4 of those types of characters will be in TV. Now, I'm not here to tell you good, bad, or anything else, but I'm here to tell you GLAAD's not happy about it. And we've been sitting on this for a month now. And I got a story to tell you about this. Everybody ready? We ready to get to this one? Folks, Hollywood has been all crickets for the past month. Go ahead. Go out there. After this is over, go Google this. Go see if celebrities were... Where is Mark Ruffalo? Where's ScarJo? Where's RDJ? Where's Pedro? Where's Rachel Zegler? Where's the Zeg at when you need her? Crickets.
Well, I mean...
Nobody is talking about this culture, and the reason they're not talking about it is because there is no answer coming. There is nobody saying, hey, GLAAD, we're going to fix this. We're glad you brought this to our attention. Culture, they're accepting it, and they're moving on.
You know, and I think that's because they don't have enough of Kim's inconvenience, like Simu Liu out there calling out their lack of representation, which
he says Hollywood. He says Hollywood hates Asians, while
I'm just saying.
Ke Huy Quan takes over the world. But Simu Liu says Hollywood hates Asians. So
yeah, which is kind of the broader point, right? I mean, Simu Liu gets a ton of coverage, and nobody bothers to cover this. I mean,
nobody.
At the same time, you would think Aunt Willow, Aunt Willow Bay, married.
I've heard about her.
Bob Iger.
Yeah. Bob Iger's beauty.
You think
His
she'd be bringing up a stink since she's the dean over at USC's Ehrenborg School of Journalism.
What about Dana Walden, Culture? Where's she at? She's in charge of Disney TV. Why isn't she out there saying, I will carry the torch for the rainbow?
I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear very much from the Brentwood bestie of Aunt Willow, and that's
I can't imagine why
bad for Disney.
I can't imagine why we are playing this this video from Disneyland at the same time that we talk about this particular topic. I don't see any correlation whatsoever.
I think that we would be hearing a bigger stink about the lack of representation, because I just brought up a couple of other places where this should be screamed from the mountaintops, and it's not being. This is very strange, bro. This would be the first year where this hasn't been a major highlight of news coverage for either the gains or the losses. It's very strange. And you say you've been sitting on this story for a month?
We've been sitting here for a month, and the reason, Culture, is because, guess what? There's no reaction whatsoever. That was the story, was to wait and see, well, who's going to come out and act crazy? Nobody. There's no actors who care about this, or at least they've been told to shut up and sit down. Lauren, I see you wanted on this. What do you got to say on this? Are you going to dissuade me that the woke-pocalypse is happening?
I'm not going to try and make that argument, but I think there's a very good reason why people aren't talking about it, and that has to do with a series of events that have occurred over the last year that were involved with a certain persuasion of people, and they don't want us to be remembering that. I would also ask a couple of other things to try and debunk this GLAAD report. The first is, okay, so your representation has gone down on broadcast TV. What specifically is the danger? The second thing that I would ask is, okay, what if we put Bosom Buddies back on the air? Would that be something that you would champion? Or is that something that you would rail against because these are...
No, you're right, Lauren. They would never champion that because Tom Hanks is not himself that sort of thing.
That's my point.
Yeah, but you would think that someone, as you mentioned, like Pedro Pascal, would be out there protecting the dolls at all costs. I mean, he's got his own T-shirts for that and everything else.
He loves Barbies.
He really does. And again, look, the fact that this is a GLAAD associated finding or conversation makes an awful lot of sense. But GLAAD's not the only organization out there that's been driving these issues forward throughout Hollywood.
Okay, that's a great point. That's a great point, Culture. So we just covered this the other day. Bill Gates has come out and said, climate change, we're done with that. Now, Bill Gates is one of the biggest backers financially of that. We believe Bill Gates has been financially backing movies and TV shows, including that, as part of their doom and gloom, while he buys up all kinds of coastal lands, and the celebrities are all living in their beachfront estates, telling you, oh, the oceans are rising, but I love my patio. It's a beautiful view. On every front, we're seeing this stuff knocked out. And part of it is because they have no doubt anymore that China could be open for business. It might be open for business. And China is socially conservative. So Zootopia, I was talking about this with Jonas earlier today. Zootopia is obvious to me as an item that's been scrubbed clean of anything offensive in any way.
Yeah, and I think the third one is not only greenlit. I think it's well on the way, and I think it's going to fall into a traditional relationship between Nick and Judy.
I want to tell you, Culture, as we watch this, I'm offended on behalf of everybody in the Alphabet crowd. Every one of those cartoon characters right there is of a traditional relationship, and frankly, they shouldn't be allowed in the parade.
Well, I mean, but they're wearing the right clothing.
Should be Baymax. Just Baymax, nonstop. Every parade is Baymax.
Okay.
You didn't know that about Baymax?
No.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, all I know is he went shopping for cotton swabs or something.
He's been hauled out of a number of restrooms. It's deeply deeply
Really?
embarrassing.
Was he in Minnesota?
He probably would like to be. It's Baymax after all. Vash, you brought this to my attention earlier, and I had forgotten about it, and that's why I was so thankful to you and for you having done this. I had let this story just hang out there and had not come back to it as I had intended to. Vash, what's your read on the idea that GLAAD came out, put up this, red alert, 911 emergency report, and a month later, Hollywood's done nothing about it because Hollywood doesn't care. They're moving on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, the allegations that, woke is dying or woke is dead and so forth, I've always kind of pushed back against that a little bit just because we know, corporate structures being what they are, corporate hierarchies, ESG, points and all of that. There has been a concerted effort to...
Vash, are these buildings still standing? Every time they show the rainbow stuff, I wonder, was it, did it succumb to the quote-unquote wildfires? I just never know.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure either. We did lose a lot of structures in that.
They
in
virtue signaled.
Right
they virtue signaled right into the flames, is what I heard.
It's tough stuff. That is for sure. But I'd always kind of, I was a little bit hesitant to believe that woke was truly dying. But we are, I think, starting to see the manifestation of that idea, or at least to some degree. There has been kind of a, do we need to push this as hard as we are, given financial circumstances, transformative times in the industry? A lot of these studios are trying to make their streaming services work and trying to be financially viable for the future. A lot of them looking to consolidate, and so to have less of a spotlight placed on them when it comes to potential controversies and so forth, it seems to be prudent to do that. GLAAD's report I thought was very interesting because it kind of highlighted this story that not a lot of people were paying attention to. And like you said, bro, the fact that Hollywood hasn't responded to this officially, the fact that Hollywood isn't rushing back in to incorporate some more of these characters and so forth, I think is very, very telling what position that they previously played in all this and what position they have now.
Not a single peep from the activist actors. Not a word from them.
But it's not just them; it's the activist groups. I mean, we've been seeing less power from the advocacy organizations themselves because, as has already been suggested, there's less money behind it. So, like the HRC, for example, would have been somebody that you would have thought would have been directly tied to this and would have had
probably getting federal money that's gone away now. Culture,
well, true story, but
probably,
but the Human Rights Campaign is doesn't seem to be, banging noisemakers in the wings right now, talking about the lack of representation in Hollywood and on television. And I'm starting to believe that, as you correctly identified here, the wokepocalypse could possibly be something that we're close to. I don't know if we're in the midst of it, but I think we're seeing less corporate sponsorship of particular ideologies because it's bad for business. How about that?
I think we're at the beginnings of it, and I've got another theory. I'm going to step in it. Lauren, I need you to help me get out of it. You ready? I'm going to toss you a really complicated question. Go ahead and unmute. I'm going to toss you a really complicated question, and I know you're going to knock this out of the park. Lauren, I suspect that the wokepocalypse is not only happening because they need to get into China. And I suspect it's not only happening because they need to find a way to get suburban families to come back to theaters. I think it's also happening because young people have had enough of it. I think the younger generation is getting hammered by the economy because they didn't have real estate properties or anything else that exploded in value prior to the pandemic. And I think the young people are being crushed. And as a result, I don't think that young people have time to do the virtue signaling stuff that they were involved in 5 years ago. They're trying to survive. And I think it's annihilating woke. What do you think of that?
I'm going to make a counter argument. I'm not entirely disagreeing with you, but saying that they don't have time implies that they're working. And I think there's a lot of them that are not because they can't find a job.
Right. No, true.
I think the young are also more inclined to buy into this stuff than, say, somebody who's older. And so my argument would more be an awful lot depends on what happens with the economy. I think that right now, unfortunately, the ball has kind of been taken off the economy in favor instead of, say, foreign entanglements and things like that. And I think that people are at about their breaking points for the price of just about everything right now. So if the midterms go against the current administration next year and you have the House and or the Senate lost, I think they're going to be pushing for this stuff all over again. And if that younger generation feels that their needs have not been serviced with regards to the economy, they'll support the people that are not currently in power. So I think it all depends on what happens with the midterms.
I think you're exactly right. We've got two different paths to take. Are we going back to what was happening the last decade? Or is there a new way to forge for? We'll find out in 1 year. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are done for now, but don't worry. Do not fret. Not yet, for more content is still coming your way 4 times a day, right here on the Pro Channel. What a joy it has been to share our time with you. We hope you feel the same. Adding value to your every single day is our job here, and we take it very seriously. Folks, the only thing we ask in return is that you consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it. Stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. And drop a comment right on down below. And folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our partner YouTube channels, That Park Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and some of those radio stations like Vacation Radio, well, we certainly would appreciate it. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time and being invited into your day, folks, we go on our way saying this: keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.